They say home is where you're supposed to be safest. They say parents are supposed to be your first line of defense against the world. But for a 4-year-old girl in Eldorado Park, home was a house of horrors. And the monsters weren't hiding under the bed. They were the ones tucking her in. In August 2025, the community of Eldorado Park, locally known as Eldos, was brought to a standstill. Not by a gang war, but by the death of a child, now known to us only as baby Nikita. She didn't just pass away. She was allegedly beaten, abused, and silenced by her own father. Her death sparked outrage, violent protest, and a desperate plea for justice in a system that often forgets the most vulnerable. Welcome back to Crime Science. I'm Zani. Today, we are looking at a case with negligence and abuse that had deadly consequence. We are deep diving into the case of baby Nikita, the parents who abandoned their bail application, the injuries that told a horrific story, and why Action Society and the community are refusing to let this case go cold. Now, you've heard me mention Action Society regarding this case. For those of you who are new to my channel or live outside of South Africa, let me explain who they are. Action Society is a civil rights organization and a non-profit pressure group. They basically act as a watchdog over the South African justice system. When the police fail to investigate or when prosecutors drop the ball, Action Society steps in. Their main focus is on gender-based violence, we call it GBV, and crimes against children. They don't just protest outside. They use something called watch brief. This means they send their own legal teams to sit inside the courtroom and monitor the proceedings, ensuring that the state prosecutor does their job and that the case isn't just postponed until it disappears. In this case of baby Nikita, they are there to make sure her voice isn't silenced by the backlog or a missing docket. And yes, that more than just sometimes happens. I have other videos about this case if you want to go check it out, but for now, I will do a quick recap. On August 6, 2025, the police responded to a complaint at a backyard shack in Eldorado Park. They found 4-year-old Nikita and her 2-year-old brother inside. Based on the official SAP statement and reports, the specific name of the person who called has been protected, likely for their safety. Why their safety? Well, like I explained in one of my previous videos, in communities like Eldorado Park, there are a set of sub-rules you must live by. There are multiple reasons why, but drugs and gang affiliation usually play a big part. Why do you think those two things also play a part in this case? Well, for the fact that help was called when next-door neighbors heard that there is again something going on inside that shack. But not even the men wanted to investigate. There was a video taken when this happened, and you could clearly hear that this child is going through hell. But no one, not even the men, wanted to knock the door down. I'm not going to add that video here. It's available if you search hard enough. I heard it once, and for the sake of my own mental health, I don't ever want to hear it again. I'm sure that if you are there and hear the screams firsthand, that your body will have a reaction by itself, especially if it's a child screaming. But no one broke the door down and stopped the monster from abusing that little girl. And the big question is why? What did they know that we don't? And this is where I think the sub-rules play a big part. I don't think this monster meant for baby Nikita to die. No, he abused her before. And he surely was planning on abusing her again. And what would the consequence have been for whomever opened the door to that shack? And I mentioned a video. Yes, a video was taken, and the woman who took it was ripped apart on social media after the video surfaced. The question, why did you record it? How could you have just stood there and listened to what was happening inside and not do anything? Well, that lady also didn't think that this would be the last abuse that Nikita would receive. The video was taken as evidence to give to the mother, the same mother that is now also in custody, the same mother who never believed the neighbors when they told her what was happening in that shack when she was at work and he was alone with the kids. The lady who took the video just wanted proof to show to the mother and make her believe them, and not the father who just denied it every time he was asked about the abuse allegations. So for those who still want to judge the lady who took the video, just remember, she is now the reason that there are audio proof of this abuse. And if you've never lived in that area, under sub-rules they have to live by, if you've never walked in those shoes, do me and yourself a favor and try to talk to someone that is living the reality and decide for yourself if you still want to judge. Back to when the police arrived. Police responded to the complaint from a concerned community neighbor, regarding the father's physical abuse of his child. When the police arrived at the address in Eldorado Park, they were pointed to a locked backyard shack by people at the scene, likely neighbors or tenants on the same property. Baby Nikita was found sleeping in the bed with severe injuries, bruises, a swollen eye, head trauma. Her father could not explain her injuries. She was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, but sadly passed away on Friday, the 8th of August 2025, due to the severity of the abuse. The father, 32 years old if I'm not mistaken, was arrested immediately. He faces multiple charges. YouTube doesn't want me to say all these bad things, so the charges will be listed as text on the screen. He is also accused of abusing Nikita's younger brother. The mother was arrested shortly after. Initially charged with child negligence and defeating the ends of justice, her charges were upgraded to include murder and failure to report sexual offenses. I mentioned a little brother more than once now. This little brother, 2 years old at the time, who was also abused, was in the shack when this monster of a father brutally abused Nikita. He could see, hear, and feel everything that happened. Just let it sink in for a second. And come to think of it, I can't even remember if I heard him cry on that audio. That's what children do. When one cries, the others also start to cry, even if they don't know why. If they are scared, they cry. Was he so used to this abuse that he didn't cry anymore? Or did he hide in silence, crying on his own because he knew what would happen to him if he was caught making a scene? It's so heartbreaking and difficult to paint this picture in my mind. Exactly how did that little boy know to stay quiet? Well, the community members have spoken out about the little boy previously having broken ribs. The community claims the mother previously opened a case of domestic violence and assault against the father when he hurt the children, likely the incident that caused the rib injuries. She then allegedly withdrew the case. In other words, dropped the charges, allowing the father to stay in the home. The specific date of this withdrawn case has not been released to the public yet, likely because it's now key evidence in the prosecution's case against the mother for defeating the ends of justice. Yes, this withdrawn is actually why she is now charged with failure to report sexual offences and defeating the ends of justice. The state is arguing that by withdrawing that previous case, she legally enabled him, the father, to kill Nikita in August. In the eyes of the law, that withdrawal wasn't just a forgiving partner. It was defeating the ends of justice. By silencing the incident, the state argues she, the mother, cleared the path for the abuse to escalate and eventually costing Nikita her life. Let's look at the charges for the father and then the mother. While the initial investigation looked into attempted murder, the charges were tragically upgraded after Nikita passed away in the hospital. Currently, the father is facing a long list of severe charges, and these include the following. And again, I'm not going to name them out, but it will be listed on the screen. The state is arguing that this wasn't just a one-time incident, but a pattern of violence, and I fully agree. I also used the term, it's displayed on the screen now, as it appeared in the charge sheet. This usually refers to forcing someone else to perform an sexual act or forcing the victim to participate. It emphasizes the severity of the control he had. Nikita's mother was also arrested shortly after. Not after her death, but after the incident. How heartbreaking that there was no loving mother to hold Nikita's hand. No, the mother was arrested while baby Nikita was fighting for her life. Initially, she was charged with defeating the ends of justice and failing to report a sexual offense against her child. However, as the investigation deepened, the state took a harder stance. The mother has now also been charged with murder under the principle of common purpose or negligence for failing to report and protect her daughter from the abuse she knew was happening. And let me mention something interesting that happened while she was first questioned. This information came out during the very first court appearance on Friday, the 8th of August 2025. The state prosecutor informed the court that upon the mother's arrest and questioning, the mother had made a admission to the police. She reportedly admitted to investigators that her boyfriend, the father, was sexually abusing the children. She used the word in plural. Why is this so important? By using the plural, children and not child, she confirmed on record that the 2-year-old boy was being abused alongside Nikita. This admission proved she knew about the abuse while it was happening. This is the cornerstone of the state's case against her for failure to report an sexual offense and murder by omission and negligence. She can't claim she didn't know because she admitted to the police herself. So, the mother knew what was going on in that shack. Maybe not the full extent, but she knew. And what is that saying? What you don't know won't hurt you? Then the question, would that video taken of Nikita screaming out for help while being abused been of any help? After all, the mother knew and she admitted it. In a move that surprised some following this case, both parents chose to abandon their bail application. This means they don't even try to fight for the release pending trial. They remain in custody while the state finalizes the case. This happened on the 18th of August. This means they voluntarily chose to stay in prison rather than fight for release. The case was postponed again to the 9th of October 2025. The state requested more time to finalize the investigation, likely waiting for the full post-mortem or DNA results. So in short, this was a very brief administrative appearance. The case was again postponed to the 11th of December 2025, but don't hold your breath. This will likely be another administrative appearance. What usually happens then? Well, on December 11th, the prosecutor will tell the magistrate one of two things. Scenario A, the most likely one, the investigation is still ongoing. We are waiting for some or the other report. In this case, the matter will be postponed again for another few months. It will be very short, often just a few minutes. Scenario B, the investigation is complete. And if this happens, the matter is usually postponed again for the DPP, that's the Director of Public Prosecution's decision. This is where the state decides exactly what the final charges are and transfer the case to the High Court, since murder and rape are serious offences, usually heard in the High Court. It won't be a dramatic court day. No bail hearing, no trial, just admin. So what can we expect on the 11th of December? It's going to be quiet, it's going to be technical, it's going to be slow. But while the courts deal with the paperwork, I want to leave you with something to think about regarding the atmosphere outside the court. You'll remember that during the last appearance, there was a confusing scene. We saw gender-based violence activists actually standing with the mother. Their argument was that she was a victim herself, battered, controlled, and afraid of the father. Now, here on Crime Science, we look at facts, and it's a psychological fact that battered woman syndrome is real. It's a fact that abuse complicates everything. But there's the very hard truth we cannot ignore. Being a victim does not absolve you of your duty to protect the child. Understanding why a crime happens is not the same as excusing it. As we wait for December 11th, the defense will likely try to paint the mother as a helpless casualty in this tragedy. But we have to remember, the mother has activists screaming for her. The father has his lawyers, but Nikita, she has no voice left. And that is exactly why we keep watching this case. I really want to know where you stand on this complex issue. Do you believe the mother's history of abuse should mitigate her responsibility? Or do you believe her duty to protect her child comes first, no matter what? Let's discuss in the comments. I really read every single one. And if you want to follow the forensic facts in this case, as we move forward toward December the 11th court date, please make sure you are subscribed and have your notification turned on. We have a long road to justice, but we'll walk it together. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.